Hey friends, welcome back to the Train Cafe, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Tamaki, and this is a cozy, safe space for book, movie lovers, for writers, and lovers of everything cozy. So, welcome. So, today I just wanted to do a sit down talking video and chat a little bit about the lessons that I've learned while writing the first draft of my novel. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I'll get to everything in a bit, but I had shared a few lessons that I'd learned on my Bookstagram a few weeks ago, and I feel like a lot of people were able to relate, or it kind of like maybe it like inspired them or helped them a little bit. And it always makes me happy when I feel like the experiences that I go through can help someone else out there. So I wanted to take it over to YouTube and chat a bit about these lessons in more detail and share a bit more about my writing process and my writing journey in general and the things that I've learned in the past few months, because I feel like there are a lot of fellow writers and creatives out there. So I hope these lessons and reminders can help you on your writing journey, and maybe inspire you, especially when you're maybe in a bit of a writing slump or rut, which we've all been there. It's part of the journey. And yeah, I hope it can just maybe help you a little bit. Before getting into all the lessons, I thought I'd share a bit about my personal writing journey, just so you know who these tips are coming from. Because I actually have never published a novel before. It's my big, big dream to publish a novel someday. I'm not even joking. It's been my dream since I was under 10 years old, like since I was able to write. So I've been writing stories since I was about 5 or 6 years old. My grandfather got me a pink diary, and that's where I started writing my first short stories. And they were really, really short with really bad spelling. And because I don't know if that's only me, but I'm left-handed, and I used to write the J like an L and vice versa, like mirrored, because it confused my brain. But anyway, so that was kind of the start of my writing journey, and I wrote on and off like over the years. And obviously I love reading, and it was just hand in hand for me. So I read all of the time, and I wrote a ton with like friends. Like I thought of stories with friends and started writing stories, and then I started writing a lot of my own. And then I actually, when I was about, I think about 15, no, I feel like I was more like 14, 13, 14 years old. I started an Instagram account where I posted my stories in German, and I did finish a story with that. And I don't know, I don't call it a novel. I don't really call it my first novel in that sense, because it was kind of the first just long story that I finished. So technically, I did publish something like a novel. It's somewhere on Instagram, probably still. However, I don't really count it, but like technically. But anyway, so had like a lovely little community of a lot of writers and readers, and that was really fun. It kind of fizzled out after a while. I think after this little part of my writing journey, I actually stopped writing for years. So I didn't really write anything until I started my screenwriting program, which was in 2021. And so, yeah, for the past 4 years, I've been studying more so like film narrative structures, but like narrative structures in general, how to build a story, how to write a story. And it's also been really, really helpful for my novel writing, because there's just a lot of overlap between how to plot a film and how to plot like stories in general. So it's been really, really helpful for my writing journey in the past few years. I was kind of more focused on that for a long time, and I realized, okay, if I really want to accomplish my dream of becoming a published novel writer, I have to take that into my own hands. That's when I decided to pick up a novel that I had started a few years ago. The reason behind this was that instead of being like, okay, I'm gonna think of a new story, I'm gonna plot this whole thing, I'm gonna make this perfect, I was like, I've done that so many times. I've tried so many times telling myself, no, this is the new story. This is the story that it's gonna be. There came a point where I had to sit down with myself and be like, okay, if you want to be a published writer, you have to write. You actually have to write a novel. There's literally no other way. And I had to prove to myself that I was capable of doing it. I told myself, okay, let's take this novel, this idea that I fairly like, it's not perfect, I already started it, whatever. I'm just gonna finish it. That was the only goal that I had, literally. I was like, I don't care how it's gonna be. I don't care if it never sees the light of day. I just want to be able to say I finished a novel. And I did it. If you're thinking of writing something and you feel like it's just so much, it's just so long, and you feel like you'll never get it done, I understand that feeling, and it's something that I think every time I start a new project, I'm like, oh, but it's gonna take ages. And like, you know what? Like, good things take time, and it doesn't matter how long you need. The most important thing is that you start. I've been rambling on forever. Let's actually get into the 10 things, the 10 lessons that I've learned while writing my first novel. Consistency over perfection. This was kind of a hard pill for me to swallow, to be honest, because I'm very much a perfectionist. I have been for years, or like as long as I can remember, and it's something that I'm really actively trying to get out of. However, for a long time, I think that's also one of the reasons I never finished anything that I started, because I think deep down I felt like I really had to make it perfect, and this had to be the novel I published first. And it really hindered me from actually sitting down and writing, because I felt like it had to be perfect, or it had to be something. Fast forward to now, this novel is not something that I want to publish right now. I know that I want to publish it at some point in my life, and I want to keep working on it for sure, but I'm like putting it aside for now. So at the end of the day, like, you could ask, like, okay, why did you write it then? But I think it was important for me to let go of that expectation of having it to be something specific. And instead, I was able to focus on writing and actually getting it done. And the thing is, perfection is not your friend, because perfection does not exist. You can take the literal most perfect novel, and this is kind of a random example, but I was just working on my university, like, kind of research paper thing today, and I'm writing about Spirited Away, and I was analyzing the film from like a very objective point of view, like, what are the plot points in the movie? Like, what happens? And while writing about it, I was like, okay, like, if I were to objectively look at this movie, it's not like it's plotted perfectly. There are random things happening here and there. I can't explain everything. And it kind of calmed me down, because I was like, you know what? No work is perfect. Every work has its flaws, but that's what makes it human. Perfection is a word that is not even logical for the art that we humans make. It's not even possible, and it's not supposed to be, because that's not what we humans relate to. Perfection is something that if you chase it, you will never ever get to it. Meaning, if you chase perfection over getting your novel done, you will never get it done, is my honest opinion. My mindset when writing a first draft of anything nowadays is, this is supposed to be messy. This is supposed to be bad, is the mindset that I go in with. Not to put myself down, but to free myself of the expectation of having to have it perfect. Most of the time, you're gonna have phases. Like, you're gonna have a shitty writing day, a good writing day, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're gonna put something on paper, and that's the most important thing. That is just the single most effective thing that has helped me throughout this process. Okay, I think I've made my point. Let me just move on. Everyone's first drafts look different, and that is okay. I came to understand that first drafts and drafts in general look so different for everyone. They mean something different to everyone. I noticed that on Bookstagram when I was like seeing the process of other writers out there, and I had times where I compared myself, because I was like, how is it that this person is basically putting out the first draft that they wrote in like a year and it's now published? How does that work? Like, there were just a lot of people that I compared myself with, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? But at the end of the day, everyone has a different process, and everyone's first draft is something different. A first draft is not literally a first draft. I think some people truly see their first draft as something that they've already polished a bit, or that they really have been working on for years, and or maybe they put in a lot of time to plot it, and now they just have to like write it out and it goes smoothly for them because that's their process. I bet there's also people out there who literally write a first draft and it's really great. I honestly think there's so many different types of first drafts, and there's no reason like getting hung up on what a first draft actually means, especially in comparison to other people, because that will just pull you down. That will just steer you off your own writing path and your own writing journey. For me, like being fully transparent, this is not a paper I will show anyone. I will not even show my boyfriend. Like, nobody is allowed to read this because I literally changed the goal of the main character in the middle of the story, which now that I've learned a lot about plotting, I'm like, that's gonna make it difficult for me in the second draft. However, like as you can see, yes, this draft is finished, but it's completely all over the place. It's completely crazy and messy and everything, and that's okay. That's so okay because it's my first draft and I know what that means. And so, me comparing this first draft to someone else's first draft that's more polished or that's whatever more, is just not logical, and it will just make me feel like I'm not doing enough or not doing it well enough or whatever. Your first draft does not determine your talent or your capability. It doesn't. Your first draft is basically just showcasing how you work best. Instead of trying to be something that you're not, it's so much better to honor what you are. Like your first draft, it's just whatever comes out of you and you can be proud of that. In whatever form it has, it doesn't matter because it's part of your process. So I feel like I got a little bit heated there, but that's how you know I'm like passionate about this. But okay, let's move on. Third lesson that I've learned is to truly trust your intuition when writing. I feel like sometimes that kind of gets lost, at least for me with studying screenwriting. I kind of got into a mindset of having to have it all plotted out perfectly, and there's so many act structures that you can follow. There's so many tips out there. There's so many ways to write a novel that sometimes I feel like we lose our own voice and we lose our own intuition when writing. So for me, in my process with my novel, it truly helped me to let myself go with the flow and be like, you know what? It's okay if I kind of go off track because I might find something important there. And it's really important, I think, to have that balance between listening to your intuition and also planning enough so you feel comfortable while writing. Kind of changed a lot of things while writing the novel because I realized, oh, this is not the direction that I wanted to go in, and there's something that I really want to explore. And at the end of the day, yeah, I have a really messy first draft, but I'm so happy that I tried everything that I wanted to try. I even have chapters where I went into a different direction just because I felt like it. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe it doesn't fit after all. So I just left it there and then kept writing from the point that I'd left off at. Like, it's possible. You can do anything you want. I think it's just really important to trust yourself in the process and to learn to listen to that inner voice, because at the end of the day, you can plot the most perfect plotted book. If you don't let yourself flow and if you don't listen to your inner writer's heart, I think that no true magic can really happen. Your best is going to look different every single day, and that is so normal. A consistent writing habit does not mean that you need a consistent expectation towards yourself and a consistent outcome every day or whenever you're writing. So, for example, if I say I write every day, I am not going to expect for myself that I'm going to write the same amount every day or I'm going to write the same quality every day. That's just not it's not possible. Let's not go down that path. It's kind of the same with perfectionism. When we start to think that we have to show up the same way every day, it's going to stop us from actually being consistent. One of my best friends said this years ago. I think we're talking about university stuff. I think I was feeling stuck or something, and she said, well, the part where you're stuck right now is also part of the process. Like, plan that into your process. And that has really helped me so much because now I'm like, you know what? Me being stuck and being like really having a really shitty writing day is literally part of my writing journey. It's planned in there. You need both because with a bad writing day, maybe there comes a spark of new inspiration. And every time I had a writing day like that, I would tell myself over and over again until I believed it that better writing days will come. And they always did. Most of the time, even the next day. Lesson number 5 is to figure out a good balance of plotting versus like flowing freely before you begin to write. I'm saying this because it's something that I didn't really figure out before writing this novel, and as I said, like everyone has their own process. Check in with yourself before actually writing the first draft what suits you best. I just noticed that I didn't plan out a lot of things and I didn't have answers for a lot of things, and I was like, oh, okay, I was just being a bit lazy and didn't want to figure it out, and now it's kind of biting me in the ass. So I think it's just really important to keep that in mind before you're writing your first draft, because maybe you're someone you just want to go into it completely blindly without any type of plot and just see what comes out. That's perfectly fine. And then on the other hand, maybe you love that plotting phase and you love the world building and everything, and you need more of that, then yeah, put in more time for that because that's going to be important for you and your writing process. And I think I just hadn't really thought about that aspect before writing, and now I know, okay, I need this certain amount of time and I need to have this question answered before I can start to write 100%. Write through discomfort. What I mean by this is we've all been stuck while writing, and you're gonna be stuck while writing a first draft of a novel. Like, that's inevitable. It's gonna happen. The important thing is to learn to write through it, because I think the worst thing you can do is completely stop writing it forever. At the end of the day, the only way to get to the end of the novel is to go through it, and just like your characters who are going to go through uncomfortable situations and who are going to have to deal with them and be confronted with them, you also, while writing, will be confronted with scenes you don't want to write, with characters that are more complex than you thought and you don't know how to deal with it, with dialogues that you feel like are not flowing, with plot problems that you didn't think of. All of these things, they're gonna come up, but I think it's good to keep in mind that at the end of the day, the only way out of that is through it. Sometimes I did sit down and be like, okay, this is actually an issue. Like, this is a plot hole. I have no idea, like, how to solve this right now. So sometimes instead of writing, I took like one writing session because I was doing daily writing for like 30-40 minutes for a while there. And sometimes I would be like, okay, I'm taking today's writing session to literally just figure out the basics of this. And just today, and that was all I needed, and then I continued writing. So at the end of the day, like, learn to be okay with the discomfort of not knowing where exactly you're going. Learn to be okay with the discomfort of knowing, okay, like, I don't feel like, I don't really know, but like, learn to be okay with that, because I think that's also part of the writing process. I mean, it's part of life, it's part of your characters, it's part of your story, it's part of everything. So that being said, though, it's just as important to take breaks and not be afraid of taking breaks. This might sound a little bit contradictory because I do realize that I'm talking about consistency and writing through discomfort, just getting forward, like keep going. And now I'm saying, okay, like take breaks and don't be afraid to take breaks. What I'm saying is it's all about a mindset. If you look at consistency as something that binds you, as something that pulls you down and that doesn't give you any type of freedom, and it's like the only way that you can get through it, then at some point you're gonna burn out. So the important thing is to have a balance there. What I mean with consistency is, yeah, you need consistency to get through a draft for sure. But consistency for me also means if I take a break for a few days, I have the confidence to come back later. Prior to this writing process, I would just stop because I felt discouraged. And I think that's not the same thing as taking a conscious, intentional break. So I think when taking breaks, ask yourself, are you doing this because you're feeling discouraged or a bit lazy or whatever? Or are you doing this because you're like, okay, you know what? Like, I just feel like I'm burning out a little bit and I just need a few days to take a breather and not look at this for a while. I feel like that's just a different mindset. You have to go at your own pace and trust your path. I know this is so difficult, but you truly have to trust, focus on your own path. It's something, honestly, I struggle with so often. I think that's the thing I struggle with the most nowadays because I just easily compare myself to other people and feel like I'm so behind and I'm not doing it the right way and I'm just like slow or like bad or whatever. But I truly, at my core, I do believe that everyone has their own path in life, but with every project, with everything that you're doing, you can take your time. You can take the time that your novel needs. Don't feel like you need to rush. Don't feel like you need to finish it until a certain time. Some novels truly need more time in advance to be plotted out, like really personal stories or like historical fiction, things like that. And then there's other things that maybe are easier to write faster. Like, honor your process, honor your path. It's so, so important, because it also builds confidence as a writer. I'm saying this all very confidently, but trust me, this is the thing that I struggle with the most. So it's an up and down, and that's okay. And it's something that I remind myself of, like, basically every day. And slowly but surely, we're getting there. Lesson number 9 is to celebrate your wins. I really hardly celebrated my wins while writing this novel, and it's something that I really want to put more like emphasis on while working on the novel that I'm working on now, just because at the end of the day, I feel like for me it goes hand in hand with being like a perfectionist and everything. I feel like because it's not perfect, I can't celebrate it, or because it's not done, I'm like, why am I celebrating this? But honestly, you being on this journey is something to celebrate. You showing up every day is something to celebrate. It's not about the end goal, it's not about how perfect it is in the end. It's about you showing up and writing. And I feel like that's something to celebrate, honestly. It's something that you can be really, really proud of. And it's something where I was like, okay, I could have done that a bit more, to be honest. And I want to do that more in life in general, but also with my writing. It's also a way to kind of stop seeing success as a certain end goal and start seeing your process as something that is to be celebrated. Maybe get yourself a coffee or something, or you give yourself an intentional break of 2 days over a weekend, or yeah, I don't know, you take yourself out on a little writing date or whatever. I feel like there are so many little and probably big things you can do to celebrate your wins, and I feel like that's just a really important part of life, but as I realized also with my writing journey. Lesson number 10 is so, so, so important. And I feel like it goes beyond writing a novel. I feel like this applies to everything in a way. Your voice and the way that you write deserves to be heard. There's power in how you write, and there's power in your individuality and your writing style and the way that you see the world. I think we tend to compare ourselves to other writers and be like, I could never write something like that. I understand that. When I read Elena Ferrante's books, I always catch myself thinking, I could never write something like this. And like, yeah, I think that's true. I don't think I could ever write what she has written, but that's because I'm not supposed to. See the power that you have with your writing and with everything that you put into your writing. There's beauty in that. There's no need to compare to any other writer because any piece of writing, scripts, whatever, they all live from the uniqueness that each of them have. It can be kind of disheartening when you see that certain like industries, like for example the film industry, to be honest, in Germany, they preach individuality, but do you see it in TV and the movies? Debatable. And so it can be kind of disheartening to be like, okay, like it's something that's preached, but I don't see myself there. I get that, but I still honestly truly believe that your individuality and your voice needs to be heard, and that's the most important thing. That's your power. So even if you don't write like your favorite author, who cares? There are so many talented people out there, and I feel like in a way there is space for everyone. Yeah, not everyone can be the number one on the best-selling list statistically, like no. However, that's not what we have to measure ourselves with. There's still an importance to your work. So you need to define for yourself, like, why are you writing? What's special about you? And trust me, there is something special about your writing. So don't think that you don't have that, because everyone has that. Everyone has that, and everyone can use it on their own individual path. I feel like I got a bit heated there again. I hope that these 10 lessons maybe inspire you or help you on your writing journey or on your creative journey, and I hope it can like inspire you, maybe remind you of some things that you probably know at heart, but sometimes we need to hear them again. And if you're on your creative writing journey, I wish you all the best. I believe in you. Let your voice be heard. Thank you so much for watching and for spending this time with me today. I'm so excited to see you guys in the next video, and I wish you all a lovely rest of your day. Bye!